In today's Anime Last Stand video, I will be going over all of the information that is important to know. This information will be helpful for beginners and even people who are further along in the game. I will cover the following topics: codes, banner mechanics, unit types, enemy types, status effects, what units are good for what part of the game, traits, challenges, elements, and good ways to farm for emeralds. This video might be on the longer side, but it is definitely worth the watch. This did take time to write out and find all the information, so it meant a lot to me. If you would like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let's start this off with codes. I made a separate video covering all the codes, but I will also flash them on the screen now. The code 3219872 is actually a secret code hidden somewhere in the game and is not mentioned in the Discord. Most codes give emeralds, but some will give you rerolls, which is very nice. Make sure to redeem them all before they are disabled, because they are kind of getting turned off and on, so just make sure you redeem them. Next up are banner mechanics. Before summoning, if you have Robux, I would highly recommend getting VIP and VIP 2 if you can. The banner prices will be reduced, which helps with getting the units. The basic banner is one everyone has access to. It shows 2 rares, 2 epics, 1 legendary, and then 1 mythic. It is not possible to get celestials from this banner. If you don't know what celestials are, it is pretty much just a rarity above mythic. Once you reach Act 1 of Planet Namek, which is not that difficult to go through story mode, I did it literally all over the legendary, so I would highly recommend trying to save your emeralds until you reach Act 1 of Namek, which will be when you unlock Banner 2. Now, you will be able to view Banner 2. While Banner 2 is a little bit more pricey, I think it's by like 100 emeralds per 10x, if I'm not mistaken. You can now also get celestials. So, on top of that, on top of the ability to get celestials, you can also get 2 mythics instead of 1. And they are also 1% on the Banner 2 instead of on Banner 1, where they are only 0.5%. You can also get rares, epics, and legendaries from this banner. It's just not shown on the image. I will talk about which units you should summon for later on. Next, I will mention the unit and enemy typings. Units have 3 types: ground, hill, and hybrid. As you would assume, ground units can only be placed on ground and only hit ground enemies. Hill units can only be placed on hills and attack both ground and flying enemy types. Finally, hybrid units can be placed on ground or hills and will attack both flying enemies and ground enemies. There are currently only 3 enemy types. You have flying enemies, which you need a hill or hybrid unit to kill them, speed enemies, which move at increased speeds, and then tank enemies, whom have increased health. Status effects are a big part of a lot of tower defenses, and there are status effects in this game like any other. Some examples are burn, slow, freeze. So anything like that is a status effect. In ALS, there are 10 status effects as of release. We have burn, freeze, slow, bleed, stun, electrified, dismantled, crippled, black flames, and weakened. Now, there's some of these are only special to like 1 unit, so it's not like they're widely thrown. It's not like there's like 5 units with one of these traits. You can check the wiki, which will be linked in the description, if you want to see which unit has what effect. Some legendaries do have effects. I'm not too sure. Actually, epics do as well, because I know about Rukia. So here are what they do. Burn applies 2.7 times the unit's damage over 4 ticks, which is 1 tick per second. Freeze is a 4-second stop. Slow decreases the movement speed by 33% and lasts for 10 seconds. Bleed does 2.5 times the damage over 5 ticks. These 5 ticks will last 6 seconds. The stun is a 2.5 second, stun. Electrified stuns an enemy 3 times for 1.5 seconds each, and deals 2 times the unit's damage, which in total is lasting 9 seconds. Dismantled deals 4.7 times the amount of the unit's damage over 6 ticks, and slows by 5%, lasting 9 seconds. Crippled is a 10% speed reduction, but it is the only one that stacks with slows, so you can use it with like time stop or whatever. It also makes enemies take 15% more damage. Black flames deal, get this, 14.25x the unit's damage across 20 ticks that last 10 seconds. So 2 ticks for every second. That is crazy. I believe there's only 1 unit with Black Flame, though, as of now. Finally, Weakened deals 15% more damage for 10 seconds. Next up, I will talk about what units you should be going for. Really, any legendary will do for story mode, as long as you also have Rukia. Definitely get Rukia as a beginner, since she can freeze, but is only an epic unit, which makes her extremely easy to get. Make sure the legendary you get is a heal unit or a hybrid unit, since you will encounter airs later on in story mode, so you need to make sure you can actually take them down. Goku SS was my first unit, and I didn't have any troubles getting through every single act of story mode. If you would like, you can also redeem Toadboy's code, which is Toadboy120k, to get a free exotic heal unit, which I believe it has similar stats to a legendary heal unit, so you may not even have to summon. As far as what mythics are worth getting, you'll want to get Sukuna, whom does have an evolution, Yami, who is really good for story mode, and just general, like, high damage off of placements, and Gojo, whom does have a stun. So if you're not interested in, like, the support stun, then you can skip over Gojo. Once you reach Banner 2 and can get Celestials, go for Guts, Idol, which is a buff unit, and Gon. Finally, there is Ulk, or Elkior, however you want to say that. That person is a legendary unit, but is still worth getting, since they will receive an evolution in a later update, so you might as well grind and get them now, and then evolve them when that's available. To get Ulk, you must complete Act 6 of Hollow World on Nightmare difficulty. I believe it is a 5% drop rate, so make sure you keep trying until you get them. I'm going to quickly go over traits. I honestly am not, like, a master on traits. I don't know too much about them, but I know a decent bit, so I'm going to share what I know. There are a lot of traits in the game, but Overlord and Avatar are the main 2. They are a lot like Unique, if you ever played Anime Adventures, and they will limit the placement of that unit to just 1. On damage units, these 2 traits are great, but on support units, like for example Rukia, you would want to avoid these traits, because then you're just ruining the fact that you can place, like, whatever, 5 Rukias down to 1. So instead of getting, like, 5 constant freezes, you're now only having 1. From what I have seen, most of the traits are balanced. Like, if you're looking at the legendary traits, they're all going to be pretty balanced as far as what total DPS it adds. And when you look at the other traits, it's pretty much the same thing. But when going for traits, I would highly recommend getting one that is a % SBA reduction or a % damage increase. Having those 2 will always be better than a % range increase. So, for example, if a trait gives 12.5% range and 5% damage, and a different one gives 12.5% damage and 5% range, that damage one is going to be better. Range is not that big of a deal unless it is a full AoE unit. Other than that, just stay away from traits that give % money bonuses, unless it's on Speedwagon or Escanor. There are some that are like 15% more money. Just ignore those. I think Oshi as well, you might be fine with one of those traits, but on any damage unit or support unit, that's just useless. Next up are challenges. As of now, challenges are pretty much useless. The only good thing that comes from them are Sukuna's fingers, which you will need to evolve your Sukuna. Once you get 12 fingers from the challenges, which I would recommend finding an easy one, and then just using the retry button to stay in it, they do become pretty useless, and you're not going to be playing them. Something ALS has that I haven't seen done before are elements. A lot like a Pokemon game, certain elements deal increased damage to other elements. It's a really long list that I don't want to go through in this video, so please use the Trello link that will be in the description. Scroll over until you see the elements section to check out that for yourself if you want to. If you want in the future, I can make a video to go more in depth on elements. I just don't see the point of making this video an extra 5 minutes. Finally, I will cover a good way to farm for emeralds, which is also a great way to get EXP for your units, since they're pretty much going to be both. The method covers both of those. If you're on any device besides a computer, you will not have access to tiny tasking. So when you're AFK, just use the time chamber. Hopefully you have Roblox Premium in both VIPs. The time chamber is honestly not too bad if you do have that. And when you are able to actively play, load into Planet Namek Act 1 on Nightmare difficulty. use Yami at the front and just repeat this process. You will not need to upgrade him since his base damage is very good. You can literally just place him, go AFK, and do other things while you wait for wave 15, and then come back and hit the retry button and do it again. If you're on PC, then still use that exact same method while manually playing. But when you're getting off and want to AFK, instead of going to the time chamber, you can actually download Tiny Task and set up a Tiny Task on Water Park Act 1 Nightmare. Wondering why Water Park Act 1? It's because any higher than that, and the maps have just too much of a random spawn that it's too difficult to Tiny Task. So that is the highest map we can do right now where there is not a random spawn. I will have a video dropping tomorrow covering a Tiny Task tutorial for Water Park Act 1 Nightmare, so make sure to check that out when it drops. You'll be getting a ton of emeralds per hour and also gaining a ton of unit XP as long as the units are in your team. That finishes everything I wanted to cover in this video. If you found it helpful, please consider leaving a like and subscribing, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.